Stay hydrated.
It tells us, Adam. Can you see that? It told us it's live.
And 5, 6, 7. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Adam. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. It's
How
December
are you?
4th.
Happy
It's
December.
the holiday season.
We didn't call this one the quarantine edition, but I'd say we're still in it. So that's a bummer.
Seems like, yeah, we're heading back there. If we ever left.
If we ever left. That's right. So, what do you want to talk about today?
I was just thinking about being very meticulous, doing the due diligence that's due when it comes to transactions.
DODUE, close, but not the same thing. Yeah, we help people often with their purchase agreements of commercial properties. Probably 95% of them are apartment type, multifamily, and mobile home park purchase agreements. And we've gotten some clients in the past that did not do a very good job on the due diligence, and then they found out deep into the ownership that certain things were not as expected. So we always recommend people have a checklist of junk to make sure they know what they're buying. How does that sound, Adam?
Yeah. It's exciting buying the opportunity. Opportunities are just limitless, and everyone's excited when there's opportunity. New things are shiny and exciting. But it's important to take a second and try to figure out if there are things you don't know about and reasons this owner is selling. So you got to get a good due diligence list. The one we're sharing may not be the everything you have to do, but it's a good amount. Every case is different, but you want to find out, what skeletons are out there, and take the time to do that, because you gotta make money going into the deal.
That's right. The best way to make a successful project is buying right. Especially knowing what you're actually buying. So we're going to go through, yes, Dave, good comment. Dave from our wizard friend, Tim. Like Tim says, do your best to kill the deal. If you're not embarrassed by the offer, you are not offering low enough. So, Adam, do you want to run through what our due diligence checklist looks like?
If we can get Joe to pull it up. Joe? Could you pull that up?
Let me just, our IT guy, our in-house IT guy is gonna,
that'd be great. Let's run through
working diligently on pulling up the item.
Yeah. Kill the deal. That's one way, is obviously you have to have the good offer and look at all the different ways that the deal doesn't work. And in order to know whether something's killing the deal, you have to know about it. So you have to ask the right questions and get the right materials and information from the seller. And that's kind of what this list helps with.
Sure. And if anybody that's watching has interest in getting this due diligence checklist, it's certainly not intellectual property. It's probably ripped from several PSAs that we did in the past and combined and added stuff, removed stuff. So if anybody wants to get this for their own due diligence, whether it be for commercial property or whatever the heck, this really applies for multifamily apartment complexes. But the same can go for mobile home parks. Probably a lot of it for storage facilities, but if you want, just drop your email below or send me or Adam a direct message, and we can send her over. So this due diligence checklist is broken down into 3 separate parts: financial, and any one of these parts could arguably probably be in one of the other 3 sections, but this is just how we have it set up, probably from entry over time. So we have a financial section, we have a property specific section, and then a boring legal section. And Adam, is there any particular spots you want to kick off on and look at?
I think they're all very important. Obviously, the easiest and the quickest to get through is the financial piece. When it comes to the property, you probably have to get out there yourself and or have other folks come out there. So maybe the first place to take a look at is just the numbers and just the paper and any documents and evidence of the numbers that they're given to you. So that's, I think, fallen mostly under financial.
Yeah, and Adam stated what would sound like, if you don't do this very often, very common sense to actually go check out the property. That happens a lot, that people buy a number of properties sight unseen, not your 100-unit properties, but definitely your doubles up to probably, I don't know, I've heard a couple that have been quite high. So you want to send somebody on your own behalf, maybe someone that knows more than you do, that can come at a price that may be, difficult for you. We suggest you go out there, because I think you probably don't learn stuff until you're actually looking at it. Would you look at it, like our YouTube friend said?
You see something like that, you gotta look at it.
Sure. And Adam, I sent you the link so I can post it on Facebook in case somebody wants to hop on and act. He sent me question marks in a panic, but don't worry, it's fine.
I was on. I thought I was here the whole time.
One of the more important things, please make this link post to Javier's. Yeah, buddy, we will. This is Nick. Nick's a good dude down in Tampa Market. If you need to build a new house, he's your guy. One of the most important things we think are the leases. Those are the legal contract between tenant and owner. Indicative, I think, of a successful real estate project is one that actually has leases. I'm sure, I don't know what the number is, Adam, but what do you think? Maybe 50% of the time, people are buying an asset with very well done leases with, stacks of them electronically kept so you can review them. And a lot of times, the other 50% of the time are month to month, kind of haphazardly scribbled into an Excel spreadsheet that you can't really check until you own the place. So number one, an important part in the financial section is just the most recent rent roll. But with that, further down on the spreadsheet, we always recommend people see either the hard copy for all the leases. I'm not even sure where it is in here. It's in one of these sections, but you want to actually get, I think you should ask for the electronic copy. If they say you got to come on site to review them, that's baloney. Ask them to scan it in, because if they can't do that part right, you shouldn't trust that they're going to do much else right on a real estate project.
Yeah, and one of the reasons this is most important for our clients is we have clients that are a lot of times looking for value add, smaller apartment complexes, which means run by mom and pop type situations, or just smaller outfits that kind of do things in a simple way. They don't have systems set up, or they're not necessarily utilizing technology in the most efficient way. So there's a lot of chaos out there. So you're buying, you want to know what it is you're buying, and in order to do that, you really have to do extra work in those sort of cases. So that's why a lot of this stuff is really important. If you're buying one that's not run by somebody who's got all their systems down in place, then that gives you extra work as a buyer, and so that's important to keep in mind. Somebody says our rents are $625. Well, that might be your listing rent, but is that what everybody's paying? That's a simple question, but unfortunately, when you have a bunch of leases, you have tenants that have been there a long time, or tenants that you wanted to get on board because vacancy was up and you gave them a deal for that's common. So especially when it's run by a smaller outfit, to have different rent rates and that sort of thing. So you got to be sure you're taking the time to figure all that out, because that can significantly change the finances of the opportunity.
Yeah, and something very basic, but very important is, and if you have the time to do it, would be to ask for any pending evictions. So obviously, and unfortunately, this period of time of if you're transacting a multifamily project, you're going to be dealing with either pending or should be pending or will be pending eviction cases. So you want to get your arms around that, how many you should be expecting when you do take over the project. And just as important to that is see if they have counsel, lawyers that they've used consistently for those evictions. And you'll want to, if I were you, I would see if you can contact those lawyers, see if they're going to be willing to continue on and handle those for you. And it's worth your time to, obviously ask them that, but at the same time, ask them, how bad is it to evict people in this particular jurisdiction? So in Cleveland, when people ask me about where to buy, and I think one of the up top important pieces is when you have to get rid of somebody, how much grace do they get from the municipal court? Is there some sort of expected mediation that you got to go through, on your first hearing? These types of things can add 60, 90, 120 days to the eviction process. And it may be a better plan for you to look in the jurisdiction next door, because you've heard that in this place, it's a little easier to work with the municipal court and to turn units for your building.
Yeah. And if you're looking around at opportunities all over the country, that means as many jurisdictions as there are places. So in Ohio, these are handled by the local municipal court, which could be in the particular city where it's at, or it could be a municipal court in a neighboring city that kind of handles a series of municipalities. But you want to get an idea of that, because they do change even within regions. You get different treatment of tenants. That's a good thing to follow up on. Try to talk to somebody. Try to get an idea, especially this time, what the court's doing these days, because we're in an unusual time for the last couple months.
Yep. And a lot of these ideas that we're coming up with, they do apply if you're a single family buyer as well. There's some nuggets in this legal section that just kind of should open your eyes to be like, oh yeah, I should lean on local government. But if you request from the seller police reports, and there are a number of them, that should kind of ring some bells for you that this is going to be a certain type of property. If you're seeing that the police are out there every weekend for some unfortunate, domestic event, or we had some really good buddies that went out to Sandusky, which is about 45 miles west of Cleveland, and criminal scene investigators were there. Is that what it is? Crime scene?
Not the Hollywood one. The real one.
Not the TV type. The actual crime scene investigators are there. So you take that into account when you visit the site, and you put that in your underwriting. Hey, crime scene investigator, what's that? What should I be thinking about with the property there? So lean on local government. We have some partners, Daryl and Kevin Hackbart, who whenever they go visit, they make sure to go look they go reach out to the building department. So they'll go to the city municipal center, go to the building department and ask them, pepper that building department director or assistant with questions about the asset, like, hey, there's this Patriot Square out in Rantoul. What can you tell us about it? He or she will give you some dirt that you never know from the seller, because sellers can be fibbers at times, and you're getting it right from the horse's mouth.
Yep. And just like you have different courts that respond differently, you get different building departments. You've probably heard stories about certain municipalities that are more sticklers than others. So you want to get an idea of that. It's something you can manage either way, but also going out there in person and meeting humans, and not just being a stranger who flies into town and then doesn't respond to letters. If you go and meet some people, if not in person, over the phone, introduce yourself beforehand, it might get you further with working out things and having a good working relationship with that municipality and with that building department. So that's another good idea. I know Daryl Brooks and Kevin Hackbart do that too.
Yep.
Not Daryl Hackbart.
Daryl, yeah, I could, yeah. I can't believe they're stiffing us. They're not even on here, but that's okay. We'll rib them over. And also in this section, ask, an important piece of what you're buying is what kind of residual problems are you going to have when you take it over. So you want to know if there's any litigation that has been filed or is pending, whether that's government, federal agency stuff like fair housing violations, or just the municipality. Some municipalities are more sticklers for citations and violations than others. So if there's something as simple as, hey, you got a big crack on your sidewalk that's a public right of way, we want you to fix that. That can be a real problem as far as violation goes. And you don't want to be chasing these people after you own it, because you're never going to get what you're expecting. So you want to make sure to get either credit for it or make sure they take care of it before you take over. So ask them for building violations and anything they've ever heard or known of regarding litigation.
Yeah, cool.
Adam, what do you feel so far?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, most of the stuff speaks for itself, but get into the details of and understand the different ways these things can come about. Like rent payment could be is helpful to know, but is it rent payment that's paid in cash? That could mean a number of things and could be a red flag. So just other things like that, but. Otherwise, this is kind of collecting documents and evidence and pretty straightforward. But I think some of those other things are important.
Yeah, and some of these things you might think, and if you're asking for this list and I send it over, you'd be like, oh, it's kind of uncomfortable to ask a company for their, tax returns or to ask for bank statements. I mean, that's common practice in the industry. So if someone has a real problem with you being like, hey, you're saying that the rent is, it's coming in at $25,000 a month. I would like to see your bank statements indicating that, or I'd like to see your app, that kicks that out. The proof is in the pudding. So don't feel bad sending this off in your PSA and say, hey, I want to see your bank statements over the last, 180 days to firm up that we're actually going to get that cash flow that you say we're going to, because we were at an event and it was very early on when we started getting into the stuff. And somebody was like, hey, it was great. I was buying at 85% occupancy. And then they found out after owning it 90 days that occupancy is way different than economic occupancy, which economic occupancy is tenants live there and they're actually paying to live there. So be careful of that.
Right. So a good portion of that occupancy were folks that needed evicted. So that's a significant financial situation.
Nice to have a place to live. I mean, you are providing a service. You're just not going to get paid for it. So
yeah. So yeah.
Do you think there's anything else? I don't see any big questions on here from anybody. If anybody has any questions, ask away.
I think the biggest thing is, this is a checklist. We mentioned that this has been used in some transactions, but the biggest thing is, you gotta be diligent yourself. The due diligence is a huge step. Make money going into the thing. Know what you're buying. Don't be somebody's escape hatch. This seller. Yeah, sure. Like you said, asking these questions is hard. Doing the work, doing the due diligence is less exciting and fun. But a curveball after closing, especially a huge curveball that's going to really make your life miserable and make your project potentially fail even, let alone be extra stressful. You want to know, at least know those curveballs. If they're out there, you go to the seller and explain, here's where we're at, and you maybe have to renegotiate because you found out something different than during due diligence. Then that's a possibility, but you don't want to be finding yourself regretting overlooking or skipping any due diligence after closing.
Right. And another, I think, helpful thing is getting to spend time with the property manager before, and and maybe there's not a property manager if it's a smaller real estate purchase. But let's say you're buying anything more than probably 10 units is going to have some third-party manager unless it's in your backyard and you want to do it. So spend time with him or her, because they can give you a lot of the skeletons and kind of, detail what's gone wrong, why maybe it's not as performing as well as it could. And they're usually willing to sing and be a teammate of yours, because what I expect is that they're going to want the business. So, and keep the business in-house. So those are great great places to find information is spending time with the property manager, the on-site folks. So.
Yep. Yeah. All right. We did it.
Do you have any other nuggets of wisdom?
Way to DODUE. Way to do due diligence.
Way to do it.
I think it's pretty good. Thanks everybody who's joined us and remains. Hope you learned a little.
Yeah, it's Friday. I don't think we kicked that off. Since it's Friday, we're here so you can learn a little.
Yep. And like Paul said, if you want a copy of this, feel free to reach out to us or put your email below. DM us if you're watching this later on, and we can get you this sample due diligence list. Right.
I think I'll probably make a ClickFunnels so we steal their email anyway. Then we can nag them about other things.
That sounds like a great idea.
All right, Adam. Happy Friday, buddy.
Happy Friday and wonderful weekend to everybody. Thanks for joining.
Yep. Bye-bye.